We begin the Gemara today at the very last word on the bottom of Daf Chav Ches Amud Beis. Tana Rabbanan, we learned that Mevatlin Talmud Torah, you could be Mevatl learning Torah, Lo Yitzah Sameis, in order to go participate in the Levaya, or Lachnosa Sakala, and also to participate in the Simcha of Achasana. Rashi says that in those times they would go and accompany the Kala that was brought from her father's house to the place where the chuppah was, so you can go and participate with that. Mevatel Talmud Torah for this. Amru Allah, Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi. It was said about Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi, showing Mevatel Talmud Torah, Lo Yitzah Samei Salach Nasa Sakala. That he fulfilled what it said, to be Mevatel his learning for this sake, for Levaya, or the opposite for Achnasas Kala. Gemara explains, Bamed Dvarim Amurim. When was this said? B'she'ein Sham Kol Tzarkai. That if it's not, you don't have enough amount of people that are needed for this Levaya. Aval Yesham Kol Tzarkai. But if you have enough people there by the Levaya, then Ein Mevatlin. You can't be Mevatel the learning. Avakama Kol Tzarkai. What's considered to be enough people participating in a Levaya? Omer Rav Shmuel Barin Mishmei Derav Treiser Alpha Gavri, 12,000 people, and Vishita Alpha Shipuri, and another 6,000 people that blow with the shofar to let everyone know to be there. V'amrila, others said, Treis Alpha Gavri, 12,000 people, Uminayu Shita Alpha Shipuri. From those 12,000, there was 6,000 that had shofars. Ula Amar, Ula said even a bigger number. It looks like it's a bigger number, I'm not sure. Kagoin the Chaitzi Gavri, if you have people that are taking up space, Meya Bula, from the entrance of the city, going out from the city, until Ad Sichra, until the Beis HaKvaris, so to fill that entire area of people. Rav Shesha says even more. Rav Shesha Samar, Kenisinasa Kach Netilasa. The way the Eibishter gave the Torah and to the Yidden, this is also the way a neshama, and that number of peoples had neshama leaves the world as well. Manisinasa b'shishim riba. Just like when the Eibishter gives Torah to Yidden, it's 600,000 Yidden that are present there. Af Netilasa. So too, when the neshama is taken away from the world, it's b'samach riba. It's with the participation of 600,000 people. Like Gemara adds to this, but Hanim Mili, when was this said? Laman dekari v'tani. For someone that learned Chumash and he also learned Mishnayos. Aval Laman de Masni, but the one that learned also Gemara, which explains the Mishnayos, or as I mentioned yesterday, there's another pshat in Masni. Masni means someone that taught others, not just he learned himself, but he taught others Torah, lesle shiur. There's no number of people that's sufficient to participate in his Levayats, and the whatever the bleakvul people that everyone has to come to his Levaya. So I mean, this shiurim that it says here in the Gemara, it's obviously not the minig today. The Pais can give different reasons why today we don't follow the minig that it says over here, that when someone passes away, that everybody stops malacha, and everybody in the entire Brooklyn should come and participate in every Levayat, to come to this number of people over here. Tanya, we learned, Rab Shimon ben Yochi Yomer, Ba Yirei, come and see, Kamo Chavivin Yisrael of Nea Kadosh Baruch Hu, how beloved the Yidden are in front of the Eibishter. Everywhere where the Yidden went into Galos, Shchina Imam. The Eibishter goes into Galos along with them. Galol Mitzrayim, Shchina Imam. When the Yidden were in Galos Mitzrayim, the Shchina was with them. The pasuk says, "Hanigloi Nigleisi Elabeis Avicha Beyaisam BeMitzrayim." I was revealed in your father's house when they were in Mitzrayim. So the Eibishter was with them in Mitzrayim. Galol Bavel Shchina Imam. When Yidden went down to Bavel, the Eibishter was also with them in Bavel. Shenema, as the pasuk says, Lemanchem, for your sake, Shu Lachti Bavel. I was sent out into Bavel. And also when the Yidden are going to be redeemed, Shchina Imam, the Eibishter comes and returns together with the Yidden. Shenema, the pasuk says, V'shav Hashem Alekecha Shvuscha. The Eibishter says, I return the ones that are captured. So the Heishiv, like Nehemar, it doesn't say that the Eibishter will return those that were captured. Elo V'shav. V'shav means that he returns together with the ones that are captured. Malamet HaKadosh Baruch Hu shav imoen mibein ha'golias. The Eibishter returns together with Yidden from Golis. The Bavel heiche. So in Bavel, so where is the Shechina in Bavel? Amar Abaye, so Abaye said, B'beiknishte the Hutzel. In the shul in the city of Hutzel. And also, B'beiknishte the Shef v'Yosef. And in the shul of Shef v'Yosef, which was a shul, there's two pshatim in this. One pshat is Shef v'Yosef means a shul that was destroyed and then it was rebuilt. Another pshat is Shef v'Yosef means that this is the place of the kedusha of the Shechina that traveled from the Beis HaMikdash to this shul. Shef v'Yosef means it traveled and came down. It came here into this shul. B'nerda, which is in the city of Nerda. And Gemara clarifies, don't say hacha v'hacha, that what we mean to say is that the Shechina dwells in both of these shuls at the same time. Elazimnin hacha, sometimes the Shechina is with the Yidden in Bavel in one place, in the shul of Hutzel, and the Zimnin hacha. And sometimes the Shechina is with the Yidden in the other shul, in the shul in Nerda and Shevi Yosef. Amar Abaye, so Abaye said about this, Teisi li, I deserve to be rewarded for this. If I'm even a parsa away from any of these shuls, I would go out of my way and I would enter into the shul to go to daven there, to be in this place where the Shechina is. Avod Shmuel, the father of Shmuel the Levi, have a Yosvi, the Knishte, the Shevi Yosef. They were sitting in this shul of Shevi Yosef in B'nerda, and as Shechina, they heard the Shechina arrived. And Shomu Kol Riksha, they heard a noise that came into the shul. So kamu v'nafkud. So they got afraid and they got up and they went out of the shul. Rav Sheishes have a Yosef b'veiknishte the Shevi Yosef. Rav Sheishes was sitting in the same shul also b'nerda, and as Shechina, and the Shechina arrived into the shul v'loy nafak, and he didn't leave the shul. Also malachi yasharis. Then malachim came into the shul v'kamivasule, and they were scaring him, and he felt afraid to be in the shul. So Amar Lafanav, he says today, B'shteri B'nei Shalaylam, Master of the universe, Olav v'she'ena Olav, someone that has been embarrassed and someone that's not embarrassed. So mi nitcha mipnei mi, who should be pushed off for whom? So in other words, he was saying that I'm here, I'm a Yid that's here in Bavel and Galus in this kind of situation. Don't kick me out of the shul. Let me stay over here in the shul. The malachim was scaring him. So Malahu, the Eibush said to the malachim, shafkuhu, leave him, let him stay there in the shul. It says in the pasuk that when Yidden go down into Golus in Bavel, the Eibush says, "Ve'ehi lahem lemikdash ma'at," and I will be for them for a small mikdash. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, what does this refer to? Elu bat knesiyos bat the midrash shebebavel. The bat knesiyos and bat the midrash shebebavel are called a mikdash ma'at. Rabbi Lazar said, "Zeh beis Rabbeinu shebebavel." This refers to beis Rabbeinu shebebavel. So over here, Rabbeinu refers to Rav. Rav was the leader then in Bavel, the biggest the Rosh Hashiva, the biggest leader in Bavel, and his shul was called Beis Rabbeinu Sheba Bavel. So the Rebbe spoke about the Siche, and the Rebbe about the Siche, about this Gemara that is, and the Rebbe said that you see here in the Gemara it says various different things about where the Shechina is in Bavel and the shuls in Bavel. So the point is, it's not all the same inyan. There are different dargis to this. There's one inyan where the Gemara says that you have the Shechina in all the Bati Knesiyos and Bati Midrashos Bavel, all. And then you have another inyan where the Gemara says that the Shechina is specifically in the shul of Hutzel or in the shul of Shefi Yosef. And then you have a third point that the Gemara is saying, which is the fact that it's in Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel. So the Rebbe explained it's not that these are different opinions. There are different levels. When you talk about the presence of the Shechina in Galus, there are many different levels. And when it comes to the Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel, which is the place, the source of Teira, of Rav, that he taught Teira to all the Yidden in Bavel, that was the highest level of the dwelling of the Shechina with the Yidden in Galus and Beis Rabbeinu more than in any other place. So this is the famous Sikha that the Rebbe then said, that similar also, B'negei to 770, the Rebbe spoke, Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel, that this is the place in the Zman HaGolus where you have the Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel, the dwelling of the Shechina in Galus and Bavel. Sagt the Gemara weiter. Holding over here, 1 second. Dorash, Rave Darshan then said, Mai dechsev, Hashem, moin, ato, hayisol lanu, that the Eibishter was a home for us. Eilu, batik nesiyas, batik midrashis. This is the Beis HaKnesses and Beis HaMedrash in Golus. Abaye said, Merei shave garisna beveisa. In the beginning, so I used to learn in my house. Matzlina bevek nishta. I would go to shul, to daven with a minyan, I would daven in shul. But then, given the shamas lahah, the kama David, I heard, and in other words, he understood, this is what David the Melech says in Tilim, Hashem, ahavti ma'oim beisecha, Hashem, I love the place where you live in your house, which is in the shul, so havai gerisne beveik nishta. So I used to go to learn also in shul. Tanya, Rabbi Lazar Kapereimer, Asidim, Batik Nisiyas, the Batim Midrashish, Shebebavel, Sheyikvu Beret Yisrael. All of the shuls that are in the time of Galus, Mashiach comes, are going to go to Eretz Yisrael, and they're going to be established there in Eretz Yisrael. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Ki Ketovei Baharim, or Ki Carmel Beyam Yavai, that there's two mountains. There was Har Tovei and Har Carmel, that they came. So this is talking about this man of Matan Torah. So they came because they wanted that the Torah should be given on them when the Yidden were then by in the Midbar. So the pasuk there says that also La'asad Lavi, they're going to come to Eretz Yisrael. So you have a kal v'chaymer here. They came to the Yidden then, just temporarily, because they want the Torah to be given upon them. The Kvoim, Eretz Yisrael, so in Lasad Lavai, they're going to be established in Eretz Yisrael, but the Knesias, but the Midrashis. So all the shuls, Shekairin, Umarbitzim them Torah that you read and you spread Torah in them, Allah has kama v'kama. Most definitely when Mashiach comes, they're going to come and they're going to be established in Eretz Yisrael. And actually, they're going to be the Rebbe there in the Sikha of Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel talks about the fact that they're going to come and they're going to be connected to the Beis HaMikdash. And the Rebbe then explained that when you talk about the shuls coming to Yerushalayim to be connected to the Beis HaMikdash, there'll be, just like we saw before in the Gemara, that there are different levels of the Shechina dwelling in the shuls. There's all the Batik Nisiyas, then there's the Beis Medrash of Hutzel, then there's the Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel, which is on a higher level. So too, when they're going to come be established in Eretz Yisrael, each shul is going to be connected to the Beis HaMikdash according to its level. The first shul connected will be Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel, then the other shuls following it. What's the meaning of the pasuk that it says, Lama teratztun harim gavnunim? So what does this pasuk mean? Yatsa baska v'amra. There's a baska that came out and said, Amr lahem, and said to these two mountains that we just mentioned, Tavoir and Carmel, Lama tirtzu din im Sinai. Why are you looking to have a judgment with Sinai? In other words, that we should judge and see who Torah should be given upon. Should it be given on Sinai? Should it be given on the Tavoir or Carmel? You're not befitting at all for this. Kulchem bali muminatem. You all have a mum to you. You have a blemish, and therefore Torah can't be given on you. Eitzel Sinai ksiv. That again, kulchem bali muminatem. Eitzel Sinai. You all have a mum, in contrast to Sinai that does not. Ksiv hacha gavnunim. Over here, the pasuk uses the term of gavnunim regarding these mountains that came. They want the Torah to be given on them. So, what does gavnunim mean? Ksiv hasam. There's another pasuk that says oy gibein oy dak, which is a kind of mum that a kain can have. So, therefore, we see that the word gavnunim means a mum that they had. So, what was their mum? Their mum was the fact that they were baligaiva, right? As it says that Har Sinai was the lowest of the mountains and it was humble, and that's what the Torah gave the Torah on Har Sinai. As the Gemara concludes, Amar Avashi, Shema Mino, Haiman de Yahir, someone that's haughty, that's a Balgaiva, Balmumu. That's a blemish. And that's why the Torah was not given on Har Tavir or Har Carmel. It said weiter in the Mishnah, Ein Oisen Oisai Kapandria. You shouldn't make a shul a shortcut. My Kapandria, what does this word mean? Amarava Kapandria Kishma. Like the sounding of the word itself tells you what it means. And the Gemara explains, My Kishma, what does it mean, the name, the word itself? Kamanda Amar, like a person that says, Adam Makifna, Adari, why do I have to go around this row of houses? Eyol Baha, let me just go through this place and I can cut a shortcut through here. So it's a kapandria is shortening these few words, Makifna Adari, instead of going around these houses. Amar Rabava said, if that area where the shul was built was a pathway from the beginning, even before, then mutter. Then you're allowed to go through here as a shortcut. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Yitzchak said, Anichnas almenas shaleilas is kapandria. Person that entered into the shul not for the purpose of making a shortcut. He went into daven to learn. So then mutter lasaisa kapandria. So then you're allowed to, if you entered from one side of the street, you're allowed to then go out on the other side when you finish davening, and it ends up being a shortcut for you. You enter into the shul to daven, you're allowed to make it a shortcut and go out on the other side. You see what it says by the Beis HaMikdash. When the people came on Yontif, so they came into the Beis HaMikdash, so the ones that came in from the northern entrance to enter the Azara, so they went out on the south. So they went in on one side and they didn't have to go out on the same side. They went out on the other side, even though it ends up being a shortcut for them. Huh?
Like we learned yesterday, if it goes in Mishnah,
yeah, that's another eitzah, right? If you learn something, so then you can learn. Sagt die Gemara, Alla bayasavim lo yitloish mifnei agmas nefesh. If you have a shul and there's grass growing there, don't tear it out. So it should be agmas nefesh. This should remind people of the pain that there is that the shul here got destroyed. Sagt die Gemara, vatanya, but in a braisa we learned, ein tailish u'meichel. You're not allowed to pull out this grass in order to give it to eat for an animal. Avol tailish u'maniach. You can pull out the grass if you just leave the grass there. In our Mishnah, it didn't make this distinction. Our Mishnah just said, don't pull out the grass. So the Gemara says, that's the pshat of our Mishnah as well. Kitnan nami masnisen tailish u'macheltnan. In our Mishnah, it's saying, don't use this grass to feed to your animal, but if you're just pulling out the grass and leaving it there, you are allowed to pull it out. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in a Braise, Beis HaKvaris, a Noigim Bem Kalas Reish. That in a Beis HaKvaris as well, it's a place that you shouldn't be over there with a light-headed behavior. Ein Marim Bem Behema, you don't bring your animals to pasture there. Vein Melichim Bem Mamas Hamayim, you don't bring a water that should flow through there. If you have to irrigate your fields and you want to pass the water through this Beis HaKvaris, you're not allowed to do that. Vein Malaktim Bem Masavim, you don't go collecting grass over there. Vein Liket, if you did, then Sarfim Bem Kaimam, you have to burn it over there in its place. And the Braisa finishes off, Mipnei Kavod Mason. This is the honor, this is to give honor for the people that are buried there. So this last three words, Mipnei Kavod Mason, the Gemara asks, Ahai. And what of this Braisa is this going on? Ilema Seifa, if you're saying that when it says Kavod HaMesim is going on the last point, that if you take any grass there, you should burn it there. Kivin Sheseifim Bim Kaima, the fact that you're burning it there in its place, my Kavod Mesim, what kind of a kavod is there for the Mason? Maybe it's like Zayra of Chazal, that if you pulled out the grass there and you weren't supposed to, so don't take it with you. You shouldn't have any anah of it. You should burn it there. But what kind of a kavod is there for Mason there? Elo, the Gemara says, Areisha. These three words, Mipnei Kavod Mesim, is going back on the Reisha, the beginning of this Braise, where it spoke about not having any Kalas Reish there, not bringing your animals there. That's all for the honor of the people that are buried in the Beis HaKvaris. Sagt Heilige Mishnah, Rish Chodesh Adar Shechaliyah is b'Shabbos. When Rish Chodesh Adar falls out on a Shabbos. So Kairin b'Parsha Shkolim. So you read in the Torah from Parsha Shkolim. This is if it's Rish Chodesh itself, Rish Chodesh Adar itself is on Shabbos. Chaliyah is b'Toich Shabbos. If Rish Chodesh Adar is going to come out b'Toich Shabbos, here it means the middle of the week. So then Makdimin. Like Magdimin l'sha'avar, you read the parsha of Shkolim, the Shabbos before, the Shabbos Mevarchim before the Rosh Chodesh of that week. Umafsikin l'Shabbos acheres. So then the following Shabbos, so you don't read any special parsha. This Mishnah here is talking about the Dalet Parshas, the parsha of Shkolim, and then Zocher, and then Para, and then HaChodesh. So when you read Parsha Shkolim on Shabbos Mevarchim, so then the following week you don't read any special Parsha. And then Bashniya, the second Shabbos of Adar, Zocher. Then you read Parsha Zocher, which is right before Purim. So you want to have Parsha Zocher Dafka right before Purim, because it should be the Shabbos right before Purim. And B'Shlishis, the third week, the third Shabbos of Adar, Para Duma. So you read the Parsha of Para. B'Revi'is, the fourth Shabbos that is HaChodesh Hazelachem. And then b'chamishis, on the fifth week, chayzim l'kesidron. You go back to the regular seder of Kriyas HaTorah. And the Mishnah says, l'chayel mafsikin, for you mafsik for all of these things over here, b'rosh chadashim, b'chaneke, b'purim, b'tainis, b'mamadas, b'yom kippurim. If you have any of these things, if it's a Rosh Chodesh, or it's like the Kriya of Chanukah, or Purim, or Tainis, or the mamadas that they read, or Yom Kippur, so you mafsik the regular Kriya that there would have been, so you mafsik all of these Kriyas in order to read the special Kriya for that day, for the Rosh Chodesh, or the Tainis, or so on. Zogtim Gemara Tanan Asam. So we learned in a Braise, or we actually learned in a Mishnah. So Mishnah in Masechta Klayim. Yeah. So be'echad ba'ader mashmi'ah. It's a Mishnah in Masechta Klayim or not? Or it's a Mishnah in Shkolim, in Masechta Shkolim. Be'echad ba'ader mashmi'in ala Shkolim v'ala Klayim. That it was on a Chodesh Adar that the Bezin will go out and let people know that they have to give the Shkolim for the new Karbanis of the year. And also Klayim, that they should go out and inspect their fields to see if there's any Klayim that's growing there in the field. So the Gemara, Bishloim ala Klayim, the fact that they went out Rosh Chodesh Adar to tell people to look to see if there's Klayim, this man Zriyahi. This is the time of planting and things are starting to grow. They can see that that's the time to see if there's Klayim. Ella ala Shkolim, but regarding Shkolim, Minola. How do we know that it's Rosh Chodesh Adar? When do you need the Shkolim for? You need it for Rosh Chodesh Nisan, for the new Karbanis of the year. So why do they go and let people know about this a month before? Amar Rav Tavi, Amar Rav Yeshia, Damakra, because the Torah says, Zois, Oilas, Chodesh b'Chodshoi. What do we learn from this pasuk? Amar Torah, the Torah says, Chadesh v'have karbon mitruma chadasha, that you should renew and bring the karbanis of the new year, of the new truma, of the new donations, of the shkalim, of the half shkalim that the Yidden brought for the new year. So v'kiven the b'nissen ba yakruvi mitruma chadasha. So since that by the Chodesh Nisan they have to bring already from the new shkalim, kadmina v'karina be'echad ba'adar. So we already let people know and remind them about this a month before in Chodesh Adar. Keheichi the leiser shkalim lemikdash, in order that they should have a month time to remind them to bring the shkalim to the Beis HaMikdash. So the Gemara now says, according to whose opinion is this, that we remind people a month before? Come on, according to who is this? The like Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. It's not according to the opinion of Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. The Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, because if it's according to Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, so there's an argument regarding every Yom Tif. At what point do you start learning the halachas to prepare for every Yom Tif? So Ha'amar, Rab Shimon ben Gamliel said, Shtei Shabbosos, that you prepare only 2 weeks. The Tanya we learned in the Braise, Shayalim Bilchas HaPesach, Kailim Pesach Shleishim Yom. You begin learning the halachas of Pesach before Pesach 30 days. Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, but Rab Shimon ben Gamliel says Shtei Shabbosos, that it's only 2 Shabbosos that you begin preparing before. Well, according to Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, the Gemara Pesachim, by the way, says, you learned this out from this past week's Parsha by the Korban Pesach, that they had to bring the Korban Pesach on Yudalad Nissen. When did they should speak to Moshe Rabbeinu about this? On a Chodesh Nissen. So we see 2 weeks. So over here, according to Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, they should remind people for the Shkolim, not on a Chodesh Adar, you could remind them on Tesvav Adar, 2 weeks before. So the Gemara says, no, Afilah Taim Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. This is even according to Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. Why? Because the Master has said, the Chamisha Asabai, that already from the 15th day of Adar, Shulchanos Yeshivim v'Medina, you had those people that exchanged money, that sat in Medina and all the cities for people to be able to exchange their money. So already from Tezvav is when people were actually donating. And then from Chafei of Adar, Yeshivim v'Mikdash, that's when they sat in the Beis HaMikdash for people that brought their money there. Mishum Shulchanai, so because of the people, because they already came to them to exchange and give them money on Tezvav, so Kadminan v'Karinan, so therefore we already tell people and read in the Torah Parsha Shkolim 2 weeks before Tezvav Adar. So even according to Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, it is 2 weeks before, not a month before. Now the Gemara asks, my Parsha Shkolim, so what do you read for Parsha Shkolim to remind people to bring the Shkolim? Rav says you read Tzavas B'nai Yisrael v'Amarta Aleim Karboni Lachmi. You read the parsha of the Tamid, of the Korban Tamid that has to be brought. Shmuel says Kisisa. You read the parsha of Kisisa like what we do today, the parsha where it speaks about Shkolim. So the Gemara says it's understood Shmuel. It says that you read Kisisa, Haina de Karila, Parsha Shkolim. This is why it's called Parsha Shkolim. V'chsiv b'Shkolim. You're reading about the Shkolim, and it's to remind the people about this. But according to Rav, that says that you read the parsha of Karbani Lachmi, the parsha of the Tamid. So the Bachar takes out the word Hacha. Midi Shkolim Ksivi Yasam. Does it say anything about the Shkolim of that parsha? It just talks about the Karbanis that you bring. So the Gemara says, time mai Kid Rab Tavi. The reason is like what Rab Tavi said before. What's the whole point of the Shkolim? The point of the Shkolim is in order to use this money to bring the Karbanis Tzibur. So therefore you read the Parsha, not about the Shkolim itself, but about the purpose of what they're going to do with the Shkolim, which is the Karbanis Tzibur. So the Gemara, another question now, on the opposite, according to Shmuel, so now we understand, according to Rav, why we read Tzavas B'nai Yisrael, since it speaks about the Karbanis, and that's what we're using the Shkolim for, so we're reminding people, we need these Shkolim for these Karbanis, like we just explained, according to what Rab Tavi said. But according to Shmuel, that we read the Parsha of Kisisa, Karbanis mi ksivi. Does it say anything about the Karbanis over there in that Parsha? Shkolim la adonim ksivi. In the Parsha of Kisisa, where it speaks about the Shkolim, but it speaks about different Shkolim. It speaks about the Shkolim that were used for the Adonim, for the sockets that were used in the Mishkan, not about the Karbanis. So the Gemara answers, Keditani Rav Yosef. The answer is, like Rav Yosef explained, that you look there in the Parsha of Kisisa, Shalish Truma is saying. It says there 3 times the expression of Truma. Shal Mizbeach, L'Mizbeach. That one time Truma was for the Mizbeach, they used it for the Karbanis on the Mizbeach, V'shal Adonim, La'adonim. And the second time, they collected the Shkolim for the Adonim, which were used for Adonim, and then Shal Bedek Habayis, Lebedek Habayis. And then there was the other Shkolim that they had for the building of the Mishkan, and for the things that they needed for the Mishkan, that was for that. So over here, even in this Parsha, even though it doesn't speak clearly about the Truma of the Shkolim used for Karbanis, but it's Merumis, it's hinted in the fact that it says 3 times Shkolim. So that's why we read this regarding the Shkolim used for Karbanis. So the Gemara, another question here. According to the opinion that says that what do you read for the Machzas HaShekel? You read from Kisisa. So Hainu, the Shani Hayrish Chaydish Mishar Roshi Chadashim. So this is what's going to be different with Rosh Chaydish Adar that falls out on Shabbos. So the Mishnah is saying that the Kriya of Rosh Chaydish Adar that falls out on Shabbos is going to be Parshas Shkolim, different than a regular Rosh Chaydish. Okay, because what do you read on a regular Rosh Chodesh? A regular Rosh Chodesh, you read the parsha of the Tamid and the parsha of B'Rosh Chadshechem. But if it's Rosh Chodesh Adar that falls out on Shabbos, you don't read the parsha of Rosh Chodesh. Instead, you read the parsha of Shkolim, which is Kisisa. So we understand why it's different. But according to Rav, that says that what do you read on Rosh Chodesh Adar? Parsha Shkolim, that Rosh Chodesh Adar that fell out on Shabbos. So you read this parsha of Tzav as Karbani, Samai Shani. What is it different than any Rosh Chodesh? Any Rosh Chodesh, you read the same parsha of Karbani Lachmi. So whether it was parsha Shkolim, whether or not, there's no difference. So the Gemara answers, Shani, the difference is, when it comes to a Rosh Chodesh, so you should do as follows. This is not our minhag, but the Gemara says, according to him, what you do is as follows. So you read 6 aliyahs from the parsha of that week, and then the Chad with the Rosh Chodesh. And only one aliyah, the last aliyah, is of Rosh Chodesh. But V'ilu Wa'edna, when you have Parsha Shkolim that falls out in Shabbos, so you read Kulu with the Rosh Chodesh. So all of the entire Kriyas HaTorah, all the aliyahs are only with this Parsha of Karbani Lachmi. You don't read at all the Parsha of the week. That's the difference. So the Gemara, another question here. Let's say the Parshias Hu Chayzer. So now it's understood, according to the opinion that says that we had this lashon in the Mishnah, right? So Mishnah said that when it comes to a special day, comes, let's say, Parshas Shkolim, comes Parshas HaChodesh, or any other special day, so you don't read the Parsha of the week. You read that special Kriyas HaTorah of Parshas Shkolim. And so then, what does it mean when it says, let's say the Parsha is Chayzer, that after the weeks that you read the special Parshas are done, so you go back, let's say the Parshas, you go back reading the regular Kriyas HaTorah that you skipped on the other weeks. So then the answer that we just said is true, that if Parshas Shkolim falls out on Shabbos, you don't read the regular Parsha of the week at all, you only read the Parshas Shkolim. So then that answer is true. But there's another opinion that says, and this is what we do today, let's say that Haftarah is Chayzer. When you read Parsha Shkolim, which is a special Parsha, you don't skip the Parsha of the week. You read the Parsha of the week, and then you just add Parsha Shkolim, and the only thing that you change is afterwards is also the Haftarah. You don't read the regular Haftarah of the week, you read instead a different Haftarah. So all you do is you go back to the original Haftarah. Or Parsha said, the Yaime Karinon. So, but you do read the parsha of the week, that you don't leave that out. So then, my shani, our question comes back: Rosh Chodesh Adar that falls out on Shabbos, how is that different than any Rosh Chodesh? If according to Rav, on Parsha Shkolim you read the same exact kriya as the Rosh Chodesh, and you add it after you read from the parsha of the week, so it's the same like every Rosh Chodesh. So the Gemara answers, no, there's still going to be a difference according to Rav. And you do as follows. Shani, the difference is, the Eilu Rosh Chodashim, on a regular Rosh Chodesh. So like we said before, Kor Shita Binyana de Yaima, 6 aliyahs for the parsha of the week, V'chat Kari b'the Rosh Chodesh. And the last aliyah, the 7th aliyah, you read from Rosh Chodesh. V'Eilu Ha'idna, however now, if it's Rosh Chodesh Adar, so then Karu Tlasa Binyana de Yaima, what they do is 3 aliyahs will be for the parsha of the week, and then V'arba Kari b'the Rosh Chodesh. And then they do 4 aliyahs for Rosh Chodesh. So it should be more noticeable a difference that you should see. It's something special that they're reading from Parsha Shkolim, more aliyahs. Only when it falls out on Shabbos. Yeah, we're talking about when Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Shabbos. The Gemara has another question on this from another Braise. Meisvei, it says in the Braise, Rosh Chodesh Adar shechaliz b'Shabbos. What happens when Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Shabbos? Koyrim b'Parshas Shkolim. So you read Parshas Shkolim, and then umaftirim b'Yehoyada HaKoyin. Then you say the Haftarah, where from the parsha of Yehoyada HaKoyin over there, it talks about Shkolim, about giving Shkolim. So the Gemara says, Bishleim l'man dama kisisa. According to Shmuel, that says that the Kriyas HaTorah is Kisisa, where it speaks about Shkolim. So Hainadim Maftirim b'Yehoyada HaKoyin. So therefore, the Haftarah of Yehoyada HaKoyin is the domilate, something that's similar. The Chsiv, because it says in the pasuk there, Kesef Nefashais Erkai, that you give the money for your soul to redeem the value of your soul, which is what it says in Parshas Kisisa, that it's like a koifer nafshay. But according to Rav, which said that you read this Karbani Lachmi, the Kriyas HaTorah is about the Karban Tamid, Midami. How is that similar to the money that it speaks about, the kesef of nefashos that it speaks about in the Haftarah of Yehoyada HaKoyin? So the Gemara answers, yes, it is Dami. Dami k'der Aptavi. Going back to the point we said before, Aptavi said, why do we read this Karbani Lachmi? Because this reminds the people that you have to donate money for this purpose. So therefore it is similar to this subject. Another question, Meisvit said in a Braise. What happens if you have the parsha of Shkolim, that the parsha of the week is the parsha right before it. Let's say you could have parsha Shkolim falling out in parshas Tetzaveh, which is right before parshas Kisisa. So actually you could have parshas Shkolim falling out either on parshas Tetzaveh, which is right before Kisisa, or the parsha right after Kisisa, which is parshas Vayakel. So then, Kairenaisa, you read the parsha of Shkolim, and then the week before or the week after, V'kaiflanaisa. You're going to end up reading parsha Shkolim 1 week after the next. That's so. In other words, don't think that because I just read parsha Shkolim the week before, I can skip it the next week. That's what it says in the Braisa. Now, Bishlam Lamandama Kisisa. So according to Shmuel, that says that you read parsha Shkolim Kisisa. So then it could actually come out that it was on Parshas Tzaveh or on Parshas Vayakel, that it's right before or after Kisisa. But according to Shmuel, that Rav that says Tzav as Karbani, that you read from Parshas Karbani, where is that? That's in Parshas Pinchas. It's in a totally different time of the year. You read that in the summer. Do you ever have Parshas Pinchas that you read it in the time of Parshas Shkolim in other time? It's impossible. So the Gemara answers, yes, it is possible. In Libnei Marave, it's possible for the people of Eretz Yisrael that had a different schedule for their Kriyas HaTorah. The Maskil Dairaisa B'Tlas Shnin. They read from the Torah and they finish it once in 3 years. If you go with that schedule of Kriyas HaTorah, it's possible that you end up reading Parshas Pinchas in Chodesh Adar time. Tanya Kavasei de Shmuel, we learned in Abraisa clearly like Shmuel, it says, Chodesh Adar Shechali is B'Shabbos, Kairin, Kisisa, what you read for Parsha Shkolim is Kisisa, Umaftirin, and the Haftarah is from B'Yada Kayin. Rav Yitzchak Nafche said, Chodesh Adar Shechali is B'Shabbos. If Chodesh Adar falls out on Shabbos, might see in Shalish Teiris. So you take out 3 Teiris, the Kairin Behem, Echad Ben Yoni Shal Yaim. One you read the Parsha of the week, Ve'echad B'Shalish Chodesh, and the next one you read is Rish Chodesh, and Ve'echad B'Kisisa. And then with the third Sefer Torah, you read from Kisisa Parshas Shkolim. Rav Yitzchak Nafche, another thing Rav Yitzchak Nafche said, Rish Chodesh Tevis Shechali is B'Shabbos. If Rish Chodesh Tevis fell out on Shabbos, like we just had a month ago. So then Mevin Shalish Teiris, you also bring 3 Sefer Teiris. The Kairim Ve'echad Ben Yoni Shal Yaim, one the Parsha of the week, Ve'echad B'Rish Chodesh, and one you read from Rish Chodesh, and Ve'echad B'Chanukah. And the third one you read from Chanukah. So now the Gemara explains it's Tzricha. He had to say both of these points. The Yitma Baha, if you would only say one of them, then I would say, if you would only say by Rish Chodesh Adar, I would say Baha Kam Rabbi Yitzchak. That over there, again, sorry, let me say that again. The Yitma Baha, if we would only say the one of Rish Chodesh Tevis, so then I would say Baha Kam Rabbi Yitzchak. Only regarding Rish Chodesh Tevis did Rabbi Yitzchak say that you need 3 Sefer Teiris. Aval Bahach, but when it comes to Rish Chodesh Adar on Shabbos, I would say maybe Karav Svirale. Maybe he agrees to what Rav said. The Amar, what did he say? Parsha Shkolim is Karbani Lachmi. That for Parsha Shkolim you read the same Kriya of Rish Chodesh, or B'Shtei Teiris Sagi, and therefore 2 Teiris is enough. Kamash Malan, that's why he's telling you also regarding Rish Chodesh Adar that you need 3 Sefer Teiris. Frekta Gemara v'lei mahach v'lei boyhach. So the laha, that is v'lei boyhach. So why doesn't he only say the halacha of 3 Sefer Teiris regarding the Chodesh Adar, and he wouldn't have to tell me the same regarding the Chodesh Tevis? So the Gemara answers, you're right. Chodam niklal chaverte itmer. He didn't clearly say another halacha regarding Rish Chodesh Tevis. He said the halacha regarding Rish Chodesh Adar, and then they also repeated in his name the same halacha regarding Rish Chodesh Tevis. They understood it from what he said regarding Rish Chodesh Adar. Itmer, another halacha we learned, Rish Chodesh Tevis shechali is b'chayil. Rish Chodesh Tevis comes out on a weekday. Amar Rav Yitzchak. So what do? So you have to read 2 Sefer Teiris. You have to read the Rish Chodesh, and you also have to read for Chanukah. So Karut Klasa b'Rish Chodesh, you read 3 aliyahs of Rish Chodesh, v'chad b'Chanukah, and 1 aliyah for Chanukah. Rav Dimi de min Chaifa, Rav Dimi from Chaifa said, you do the opposite. Karut Klasa b'Chanukah, you read 3 aliyahs for Chanukah, v'chad b'Rish Chodesh, and 1 aliyah for Rish Chodesh. Amar Rav Mani, Kvasei de Rav Yitzchak Nafche Mestavra. It's logical that we do like Rav Yitzchak Nafche, that you read 3 for Rish Chodesh, because the Tadir, V'sheine Tadir Kaidim. We have a rule, something that's more constant comes first. Rish Chodesh you have 12 times a year, so that's more constant, so you read that before Chanukah. Rav Avin Kavasei that Rav Dimi Mestavra, he said the opposite, no, that it's more logical like Rav Dimi. Mi Garam L'Revi Sheyavai. Who causes the 4th aliyah that you should have a 4th aliyah? Rish Chodesh. It's Rish Chodesh that causes the 4th aliyah. Hilkach Revi b'Rish Chodesh boy mikri. So therefore the Revid you have to read for Rish Chodesh. My Havi Allah. So what was the halacha? What's the halacha b'poyel about this? Rav Yosef Amar, Ei mashgichin b'Rish Chodesh. Rav Yosef says we don't look at Rish Chodesh, we don't give the extra attention of Rish Chodesh to make it the ikar kriya. Rabbi says Ei mashgichin b'Chanukah. We don't make Rish Chodesh the ikar kriya. The Hilchah says Ei mashgichin b'Chanukah b'Rish Chodesh ikar. Then Rish Chodesh on Chanukah, so the Chanukah is not the main Kriya Satayr. The main Kriya Satayr is Rish Chodesh, and then you add from Chanukah as well.